guys, I'm Becky Clay, and I'm sitting here today with Jill Jackson from Hope Restored Counseling. And Jill, tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, so like you said, I run Hope Restored Counseling. It's a counseling center in the Castle Rock area, plus some Castle Pines, just any surrounding area. I see a variety of spectrum of clients, people of all ages, but I really specialize in teens. That's kind of my passion, my heart, and so I love to be able to do teen girls. I see a lot of anxiety, depression, a variety of different struggles, and then I also love to run group settings as well. That's where I really see, I would say, probably the most change when it comes to teens.
Is being in a group.
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, struggles exist, I think, for everybody on personal levels, but if you can really get in a group setting where you feel affirmed and supported, and now all of a sudden say, oh, I'm not alone in what I'm going through, there's validation and affirmation, and there's a lot of hope that can come from, feeling that respect and that support from somebody else, especially your peers when you're a teen.
Great. So what inspired you to become a teen counselor of all things? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I don't know if you could call it a troubled past, but probably.
Me too. It's okay. I think we all went through that in our teenage years as girls. So.
Yeah. Yes, we've all been there at some point or another. But I went through a lot of things, I think, as a teen, and I went to a variety of probably different counselors, and really, truly, I never felt like they truly cared. Like, it was just their job. They took notes.
Going through the list of normal questions that
how did that make you feel?
Yeah.
And
it's the worst.
Writing you some prescriptions and sending you on your way. And so I always left feeling like, what's the point of this? I never felt truly helped or cared for or supported. And so I think that's where I kind of stepped in and thought, would my past have looked any different if I felt like I had somebody who really cared and wanted to help me get through what I was getting through, and really offered practical help as well, because I think that's a huge gap when it comes to counseling sometimes. So that's really what I want to provide. Is, of course, a venue to come and sit and share, and somebody who actually cares, but also just practical tools as well to, like, all right, you're dealing with anxiety, let's try these specific things and work through that together.
So I'm a mom of a 10-year-old and 10-year-old little girl. So she's starting that age in her life where, the emotions run high. And it's hard for me to sometimes, I don't know how to find the right word, calm her down.
Yeah.
Sometimes she does much better with her aunt, or my best friend, which is also like her aunt. She really respects them and shares everything with her, or with them. So maybe for like a 10-year-old, what would you recommend, or that's struggling through life?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have a 9-year-old little girl as well. Same sort of thing. She's got big emotions. And you could be the best mom on the planet. You can be a trained counselor, and my daughter is not going to hear the skills that I have coming from me. There's just a complication with relationship, right? And so I love that your daughter has female support people in her life that she can go to, and that's just really the biggest thing, is having somebody they can go to where they feel heard, where they feel supported. And honestly, for you right now, it's just being a safe place to feel those emotions. You may not love what's being thrown at you, but she needs to know that she can throw it at you, and you're not going to go anywhere.
That was another question I had for you is, for these relationships where it's a teen daughter and a mom, I don't know about what your past was, but it's typically teen girls and their moms butt heads a lot, and maybe teen boys and their dads that butt heads a lot. So where in your practice do you bring the parent in to coach the parent on how to better deal with these emotions at home too?
Great question. And I would say it kind of depends on family dynamics, honestly. Some people really, unfortunately, don't have great home situations, and the teen is always my client, the parents are not. I can't change them, but I do, especially with teens, like to have parent involvement to an extent. I always want the teen to feel like They can tell me anything they want, and it's going to stay between us and have my
They need to trust
confidentiality.
you to not go back and tell their parent.
Exactly. But we'll plan family sessions every now and then to bring parents in, families in, to just, I get to be that sounding board and that mediator to give that teen space when maybe they feel like their parents would cut them off at home, that it's just a change of venue, a change of dynamic. But that's hard, and you're so right. So I actually had, my mother is a counselor, so that's a perfect example of someone who knew all the right things to do, and it just deaf ears when it came to me. I had my own struggles. It had nothing to do with my mom. You know, it's too close to home. You've got too many things, but that can be a good thing too. You know, they let their walls down at home, and you get to see everything, the ugly side of everything.
Well, and you know too, like I feel like children at home, that's where they're comfortable, that's their safe space, and so if a child is acting out at home but is super great in other settings, take that as a really big compliment.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, they're going to see everything, and that comes from being safe to be vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me something that you are excited about right now within your business.
So I just actually went off on my own. It's been about a year doing private practice just by myself, which has been nice for just independence and things like that. But I really do get excited about running these groups. I usually try to do in fall semester, spring semester, and then summer as well. So I'm gearing up to start a teen girls group September 21st. It's 8 weeks of group. And teens are interesting because, well, for a lot of reasons, but most of the time when adults go to counseling, we are deciding that we want to get ourselves in. Most of the time when teens come to counseling, their parents force them to come. And so there's that immediate barrier of, I don't want to be here, you know, that you
not
have
sharing
to,
anything. I'm going to sit here and do the bare minimum to get through this.
I definitely have lots of those clients. But the group setting, you got a whole room full of girls that are like, don't look at me, you know, I don't want anybody to see that I'm struggling, but man, once one person shares one thing, you see the whole room, walls come down to just feel like, hey, me too, you know, and you have instant connection, instant support. And so I love trying to come up with creative ways to really, the girls aren't going to sit around in a circle and share how they're feeling. It's just not going to happen in a teen group. And so coming up with kind of creative activities, a lot of writing, a lot of practical work, you know, bring a song in with you with lyrics that you sit and listen to when you're really sad, and you sit and watch those girls sit around and say like, I listen to that song too, and what about these lyrics? You know, it's a way to connect without having to be incredibly technical.
I love that. So that group you said starts September 21st, and where does that take place and what time, and is it weekly for 8 weeks at the same place and time?
Yeah, same place and time. So I actually started working out of Castle Pines, so that's where I'm at. It's 6:30 to 8 every Thursday. We skip the week of fall break, but we go weekly, and you know, obviously it's a building.
Wonderful. So I'm not sure how relevant this question is or isn't, but I think a lot of moms are going to wonder, what does this cost? What's the financial commitment to do this?
So it's $70 a week a group session, which again, you know, it's
an hour and a half of not necessarily one-on-one, but for an hour and a half of counseling, that's great.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I know financial pieces can be challenging. It takes a lot of work. Groups are a lot of work, but it's a ton of fun. And truly, I will say, you know, I'll do sometimes what I feel like is years with individual sessions, and I will see the biggest breakthroughs happen in a group setting, because we can sit and practice all the tools, you and I, but if you don't have the confidence to implement them outside of the session with me, you're gonna feel isolated, and you know. But if you're in a group setting and you can practice those things among peers and find that affirmation and validation, it's a confidence boost.
And you know, I feel like trauma bonding is a real thing. And when, you know, even as adults, when you find someone who's going through the same thing that you either did or are going through, it makes it a lot easier to get through. So I could see how the group setting would definitely be a breakthrough like yours.
Yeah. I try to make it fun, you know. I get a lot of side eye rolls and things like that, but for the most part, I always have people just so encouraged. So glad they came.
That's so great. So do you ever do like icebreakers with the girls? Tell me about that.
I do. I love that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Again, you're going to have most of what I see, probably the most, especially post-COVID,
Mhm.
is anxiety, social anxiety. Those numbers doubled during
Yep.
the pandemic.
Mhm.
And so you're getting a bunch of people together who don't want to be there, who are anxious to be there, and who have elements of that social anxiety. So icebreakers, it's like everyone's number one nemesis. They hate them. But again, once you get that first person who is willing to go, I'll often do things that don't involve you. Like, you wouldn't tell me your name and things about you. Maybe you write them down, you pass them around, and someone else is going to read off facts about you. So now all of a sudden it's safer not to have to share yourself, right?
Okay.
I
I like
usually
that.
start off one called Fears in a Hat. So everybody writes down some of their fears, some of the reasons they don't want to be there. Fold up the papers, put them in a hat, and people read them out loud. And
Yep.
what's awesome is most of them are usually the same, right?
Mhm.
I feel like people are going to judge me,
Uh-huh.
right? Or I feel like I'm going to be the only one going through these things. And now all of a sudden, immediately, people are like, okay, I'm in the same position as everybody else.
Yep, that makes total sense. So, well, that sounds great. I love chatting with you. And just as a reminder again, it's every Thursday starting September 21st.
Yes.
September 21st from 6:30 to 8 p.m. in Castle Pines. And you guys can contact Jill.
HopeRestoredCounseling.net. And my email is jill@hoperestoredcounseling.net. So you can reach out to me. I'd love to even just field questions. There's a ton of those I know when it comes to things like this. So I'm happy to connect, happy to be able to even talk to a team beforehand so they get to know me before they show up. So I'm always available and love to kind of be able to do that.
Wonderful. That sounds great. Well, thanks for meeting with me, Jill.
Thank you.
It's been great. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.